Hello, everyone, and welcome to our next interview. I'm excited about today's guest because we're going to talk about the journey. We're going to talk about how the market kind of speaks to you as you're building a business, creating a business, and even as many of us have been challenged in this last year or so. How do we mold, shape our businesses to make sure we can better service our customers, better service our market? And also, as vegans, many of us, as we want to help people and help people transition and even kind of move to this plant based diet, the idea is how do we build businesses to make that happen? How do we find our way? How do we find the right solution? And today, we're not necessarily subscribing to the idea that this is the solution for everyone today. What we really want to do is take maybe a walk through Andrew's shoes. We want to talk a little bit about what Andrew's experience has been as he's shaped his career, but also as he's shaped his business. We're going to talk about kind of where everything started, but also we're going to talk about where he is today, especially when we talk about Vegan Health Pack, the idea of offering people really solutions to help them be heart healthy. And we're also going to talk about kind of the future, where we see Andrew Alexander going in the future, not just in Vegan Health Pack, but even some projects, maybe super secret. We'll see how many things we can talk about today. But it'd be great to kind of talk about not only the journey, but where you see yourself going, and hopefully an opportunity to inspire some of our guests today. So, Andrew, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So let's get everyone grounded. Before we dive into where you are today and kind of how you got there, let's give them a little bit of a glimpse into where you started, where you kind of, after getting out of school, what did you do first and how did you kind of navigate the path of your career, jobs, opportunity, and so forth?
Definitely. I think the main story we talked about before going air is like everything changes. So getting ready to pivot and go with things. So I graduated university in 2009. I wanted to study to work in law enforcement and a career kind of like in that. So I studied political science. I got a master's degree. Then right after that, I read a book on entrepreneurship because I couldn't get a job where I was. It's in the middle of a recession. And I decided I want a new type of life. So my journey really started with Vegan Health Pack many years before. So I drove 2,000 miles across the country from North Carolina to Scottsdale, Arizona to have lunch with an internet millionaire. So for the first part, I was building a typical internet business. It was an app company, a digital magazine app. So a dog's best friend magazine. And I built it. I experienced the passive income lifestyle where I traveled across the country, backpacked through Europe. But it was in 2017 is when I went vegan. So I realized even though I experienced my personal goals, something was missing and I wanted to do something more for the planet, whether it's environmental impact, human health, and then veganism just kind of came into my life. So 2018, I met a man named Mark Perlmutter. He's the founder and CEO of Veg Ready. So I met him in Boulder, Colorado. And 6 months after meeting him, I was like, hey, do you have any opportunities where I could do my marketing work, get started in the vegan world? And he said, I'm starting a vegan startup accelerator in Lima, Peru. So he flew to South America, started up things there. And he said, if you want to come join the team, be the number two at the company, then fly on down. So I was like, why not? So we got a one-way ticket from the US to South America. And I spent about 18 months in South America in a place called Wisdom House, which is a vegan startup accelerator where they have the office in the front, a yoga studio, a natural garden in the back. The owners of the house, Ken and Allison, they have like natural cooking, plant-based, they're all about community lifestyle. So while we're myself and eventually 5 other people were doing marketing work for Veg Ready in the front office, it's like a whole community house. So I did that for 18 months, then met my girlfriend in South America. We eventually flew to Sydney, Australia, where we are now. And this is, I guess, right before COVID locked down the borders in March. I flew here. And in September, I guess Veg Ready is going through some changes. It's launching some big, exciting things, which I can't talk about, but if you did another interview with Mark, I'm sure he would. Yes. And at the same time, I was vegan for close to 2.5 years. And I realized that I was vegan for the animals, doing my part for the environment, but I got diagnosed with high cholesterol, high triglycerides, and the doctor prescribed medication.
Mm.
So that was the moment where I paid more attention, where so many people are vegan for great reasons such as animals and the environment, but we might be eating Beyond Burgers every day. We might be eating junk food every day, potato chips. I think Oreos are vegan ice cream, and it doesn't
Yes.
really impact our human health. So there's vegan, whole food, plant-based. So the original idea for Vegan Health Pack, which is the business, I found artichoke leaf extract from Peru is clinically studied to reduce cholesterol.
Hmm.
And then I wanted to create a little subscription box with all natural sources of B12, iron, zinc, omega-3, protein, things like that. And I started putting things out into the marketplace, different advertisements, writing articles, and realizing that's not really vegans that were interested in the natural, I guess, solutions to heart health, gut health, brain health. So that's going in one direction for a plant health pack, which is a different story. But I
Hmm.
realized when I started my YouTube channel, when I said, how about I film a documentary called Creating a Vegan World? That's where I
Hmm.
made a post in the Sydney Vegan group, and not millions of people, but in that little community, it went viral. People were messaging me saying, I want to be interviewed, I want to help. So the whole story is kind of like things change, put things out there quickly, and listen to market feedback. So we talked about that a little bit before, but if you have more questions, turns it over to you.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great. Now, you gave us a ton of great kind of, background on everything that you're doing. So maybe I'm going to start a little bit in reverse and then hint at some of the other things. So let's talk about what it's been like for the last year. Let's talk about how you have been trying, testing new things, getting things out in the market. Because I think for a lot of people who are entrepreneurs or planning to be entrepreneurs, or even some people who have tipped their toes in, but the last year has just been hard. They've struggled with the idea of putting out an idea, putting out a concept, being comfortable with, that feedback that you get from clients that can help you shape your business. But sometimes, we're not emotionally ready for it. Do you want to kind of talk through how you manage that? And then maybe any advice for anyone out there who is going through that process as well?
Definitely. So as I mentioned before, my first business was 2013, 2014. And in that position, I was terrified to put things out there. The fear of failure, ridicule, judgment, and like
Hmm.
something about if my ideas don't work. So one of my mentors at that point was there's no failure, only feedback. So if at
Yes.
the end of the tunnel, you have your final vision, your end goal, there's a whole journey to get there. And most people are stuck from like the first steps because they fear that initial failure. So the way I view it is I keep my eye on the prize, and then
Hmm.
it's put things out there, listen to the market, and see what sticks.
Yeah.
So kind of going back over the past year, like you said, when I started putting things out, it's not growing right away because I'm in Australia and the fulfillment is, or my parents' house, I'm starting the new business, is in North Carolina, and trying to manage inventory from across the world. Plus, it's in COVID, and there's all different scenarios with that in general. So,
Hmm.
what I learned from my past experience is even if you're on a bootstrap, like a shoestring budget, just to find free ways to get yourself out there. So, often write blog articles on other people's websites, write about what you're doing, put up social media posts, and just try different things to see one thing sticks. So, for the YouTube videos, the Creating the Vegan World series turning into a documentary, after many months of articles and trying all these different things, that's the thing that finally stuck. And I don't think I would have reached that point until I actually tried a whole bunch of different things.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's the key is it's so important to try to test. I talk a lot about this when I do sessions where I think people think that you're just trying to perfect a marketing strategy. You're trying to like create this like perfect campaign and then launch it and you'll get all this traffic and they almost basically shut down your website. And while that's a great story to have, the reality is that often the best marketing approaches, the best business models, the best way of being customer focused is literally doing it kind of one step at a time. It's making changes, tweaks, and so forth along the way. So it's really good to hear that you've done that, you've tested it, and also you've maneuvered and pivoted around everything you have going on. Because being in Australia and then running the business out of the US, I mean, that's a lot to juggle, especially
Oh
in
yeah,
any environment, especially what's going on right now in the world.
Absolutely. And like touching on the thing I said before and you just commented is like the ability to like maneuver through the environment. Because before the show, where if like I had my original idea, the one thing I wanted to do, and try to force that into the marketplace, it's like trying to fit like a square peg into a round hole, so to say, where it's more of like listen what comes in your way and listen to the feedback and just being willing to adjust the path. Remember when I was going vegan, I went to this potluck dinner every Saturday night in Boulder, Colorado. And one of the
Hmm.
leaders from one of the animal rights movements, he came and he said, like, while your vision of the future is the same and will remain unchanged, the tactics, the strategies, and the pathway to get there will always change. I might have misquoted him, but like that sticks with me because like in the past, it's like my idea, I think this is the best. And from my original idea, it's like I want people to avoid nutrient deficiency with like the health pack.
Hmm.
But as I see more posts on Facebook, people are saying, I got diagnosed with high cholesterol. I have no clue what to eat. I have all these different things. Like that's where the pain point is. And if I was kind of
Yes.
like stubborn my own way, then I think we said before the call, like if I try too hard, then the business won't last long. So it's better to listen.
Yeah. And I think that's the key is it's so important to focus on that longevity in your business, to really think about the sustainability of your business. I think sometimes, we think of like the right now, the campaign or the article we read about someone's like crazy success. And we think if only we can manufacture that as fast as possible, that often it takes a little bit of time. And sometimes I even say like, I have this thing about the patience that marketing requires,
Mm-hmm.
that often you really have to give your business, your products, your services space and time to get where they need to go. So I'm glad we're covering that topic and talking about it. So let's talk about your project and YouTube and everything. How did you get comfortable with YouTube? The reason I bring that up is most people are terrified of doing a lot of videos, number one. Number two, I feel like YouTube is a little bit of its own world to navigate. We tend to put it in with other social media platforms, but in my opinion, it really operates very different than other social media platforms because it's really backed by Google and search. So it's a different feel. So I'm just curious, how did you navigate YouTube? What have you learned? And what maybe kind of turned, the tides for you when you were looking at that as one of your marketing channels?
Definitely. So to combine like what you just said here and before that, as far as like everyone expects that viral success, where I know one YouTube channel, he put out like two videos, really great edited content, and he's up to like 750,000 subscribers. Where that's what people see, that's what they expect, but in like maybe 2% of the cases, that's true. But if you expect that for you, the real thing is like it's kind of like this, and then the X going off screen. So like the exponential growth, like years in the future. So most of the friends who have successful YouTube channels, they dedicated to put out content for free, not monetizing it for at least 1 year before they expect anything. So during my digital nomad travels, I coached a lot of first time entrepreneurs with that kind of that wrong expectation. We're like, I
Hmm.
need money to pay rent within 3 months. What can I do to make money now? It's kind of setting yourself up for failure with. So back to with my channel, the YouTube, where I'm expecting not to make money from it. If it turns into a documentary I produce that goes on Netflix and gets seen by millions, that's great. But it's really the process and putting it out there and just enjoying the process that makes it easier. So to get comfortable going on YouTube, my first YouTube channel was a personal one in the personal development space, where
Okay.
I was living in 2015 after I built my first business. I moved back to Scottsdale, Arizona. And I
Hmm.
remember riding my bike down the canal in the middle of the desert, like right on the edge of the Indian reservation. I set up a tripod, the camera, put the microphone, and I was trying to talk about personal development topics. And if I saw somebody riding their bike like a mile away coming in my direction, I would freeze up, I would get nervous, and I just kind of stand
Mm.
there looking awkwardly until they pass by. So, and that's not even the worst part. When I got the footage home and I was editing myself, listening to my voice and seeing myself on
Hmm.
camera,
Hmm.
it was it was not fun. It was not experience. It was really uncomfortable. So like that part in itself is the more you do it, the more comfortable you get. So with that channel, I put out probably 150 YouTube videos, and
That's a
I
lot.
didn't have the marketing wits at that point. So like they didn't really take off, maybe a couple hundred videos. And maybe in that instance, it was a failure, but it prepared me to be even comfortable talking on camera right now. I used to be very, very shy on things like that. So it was about 2 months into that process, I went to Sedona, Arizona, and I don't know if you've ever been to Devil's Bridge. It's like the natural bridge. I was there with two friends recording. I don't want to say it was, but I said something completely embarrassing. It just slipped out of my mouth with 30 people in front of me. Everybody turned. Some people laughed a little bit, and I faced my worst fear. And somehow, like once I hit that rock bottom, or I faced the worst fear, it's not as bad as I thought. So
Yes.
just like I said, it's my first live interview, but I've done many like recorded interviews before. It's just a matter of like do it so many times until you get comfortable. If you want to record yourself, maybe just do it 20 times. Nobody has to see it. If you want to do a
Yes.
Zoom interview, record and start like an interview series, like nobody has to see it. But at the same time, getting out there where people don't judge you as much as you judge yourself. So there's getting on camera, getting comfortable, that side of things. And then of course there's the marketing side of things, where I mentioned my first
Yes.
YouTube channel since 2015, 150 videos, lots of my time. It's maybe up to 350 subscribers, and most recent videos have like 14 views, where in the business sense, you don't want to dedicate a lot of time doing something if it doesn't pay off with your mission, whether it's a nonprofit mission or business. So I have friends who know like keyword research. So instead of talking about the ideas I want, I research what people are already searching for. And then I kind of have the general idea of the videos around that. And then I title it a certain way. I put a certain description, the timestamps based on the Google Keyword Planner. I start typing in YouTube, like say, how to eat healthier vegan, and see what the suggestions are. And then I mold it around there, and I interview people who already have followings, probably similar to what you do. It's like their audience kind of builds the momentum. And out
Yes.
of maybe the 20 interviews I've done so far, I interviewed Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn for my documentary.
Nice.
And I must have got the keyword thing right, because I see like, oh, 200 video views in the last 48 hours. The next one, I
Yes.
got another 100 views. And like, that's the whole, like I started the channel, it's like this, but eventually something starts picking up. And the expectation to focus on enjoying the process, that helps a lot. I started talking a lot, so I'll turn it back to you.
No, I think that's great. I really love how you ended it, because you talked about that expectation. I think a lot of times the expectation is what really gets us in trouble. And also, I think that expectation is where we start to have these very extreme definitions of failure and success. And I think sometimes we have to remember that you have to enjoy it. You have to enjoy a piece of the process. Yes, there's work that has to be done. There's editing, there's setting things up. There's a little bit of that tactical stuff. But finding kind of your voice, finding content and information you're going to write about, I think is so important. And then, like you said, you're doing these videos, you're getting kind of comfortable with creating the content, doing it on a consistent basis, and so forth. And then when an opportunity arises, you can really seize that opportunity, or the channel can do more, because especially in the case of like YouTube and Google, they've seen that you've continuously posted for a while. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that, because I think from a marketing standpoint, I have this discussion with people a lot that yes, it's great to go viral. Yes, it's great to get those big pops. But sometimes if your channel, if your product, if your business isn't ready for those big pops, sometimes you're not able to ride it like a wave. Instead, you feel like a rubber band. You almost feel like you're going to pop, or the process feels like it's so much. And then you either have a hard time repeating that performance, or you weren't able to use that as a way to get to the next stage. I don't know what your thoughts are, especially as a fellow marketer.
Definitely. So many things I could say about that. As far as like the rubber band, the stretch, like say example, the consistency, like putting the professionalism, the YouTube videos, like thumbnails, doing the research and being consistent. Like I eventually see it growing eventually exponentially. But
Yes.
on the product side of things, if I'm selling say the vegan health packs or the plant-based health packs as they call them now, like there's that side of the business. So let's say one of my videos goes viral, people go to my website and hundreds of orders come in. I'm still break even or slight loss because I have to pay $23 for shipping. So on the business side of things, like if I focus my attention back on the product because my marketing takes off, I'd have to get the weight down, the packaging, and all these different things. And like, it wouldn't be ready to handle that, like you said. So there's a lot going on there. But as far as like consistency and like getting ready to go viral, like that's what I like about digital media, where in that instance, I could just turn off the shopping cart on my website and say like, place a pre-order or get ready, we're coming soon, build up the email list. And one of the benefits with my first business, which was a the magazine app company, I quickly scaled to 80,000 downloads per month. So I found the dog magazine section and I got 2,000 downloads the first day. And with the digital content, I just said, this is working. I'll put out a golf magazine, a fitness magazine, and then it just went up from there. And there's so much technology to put in place to be able to scale so quickly. So one thing I want to talk about with the like YouTube is one thing in itself.
Yes.
Where in some instances, like it works, we want to scale it up, but it's just one smaller piece of the puzzle. Because I was looking at one, it's one of those like those shady sales pages.
Yes,
with like,
I knew you were going to call it a squeeze page. It's okay.
Yeah, the squeeze page. So I saw one of those things like they made it seem like if I have the right YouTube thumbnail, that's the secret to the $1 million business. And like, buy this, get the right thumbnails, and you'll be one of those huge, big brands where I see through that right now. But at the same instance, if I focus just on YouTube, then it takes away from all these other opportunities. And sometimes I get so focused on one thing where I don't see the bigger picture. And the bigger lesson I'm learning now is building teams, systems, and especially leveraging technology. There's one website I'm using or starting to use now where I could turn one YouTube video into 38 pieces of content. Where if I did that manually, it's like 5 snippets for LinkedIn, for Instagram, for Facebook, turn to a blog post, etc. If I did that myself, it would take 3 days per video. Where the software I use, like you upload the YouTube video, choose the timestamps, and schedule it out. So you have a week of content. You could do it in a couple hours or hire a virtual assistant. So that's another part of like when things scale, just have systems, technology in place first, and people to help support you.
Yeah, and I'm so glad we covered that point because it's so important that everyone figures out how to get that leverage. We spend a lot of time creating a lot of marketing content. We spend a lot of time creating content sometimes for one channel or one purpose. And if we don't take that step back and look at the bigger picture, we can forget that all that work that you put into one piece of content can help you in other channels and sometimes even other formats. I mean, that's one thing that we even learned when we started doing these live sessions. We take a lot of them and turn them into podcasts. And for a lot of people, they just prefer to listen to it. They prefer to kind of hear it in their ears. And therefore, it's not a lot of work for us to take the audio from something like this and turn it into a podcast. But we just now had to build the systems so that we could do it easily. So it didn't take, 10 man hours or woman hours to make it happen. Instead, we had to build the systems around it. So I agree. It's great. And plus, we might have to swap some tools because I'm really curious what tool you're using for your slicing of your videos, because that's one thing that we've been playing around with a couple of different options. I'll
say it right here in case it helps other people, like anyone listening to this.
Absolutely.
So I just started using it. So it's putting my first one up. It's called repurpose.io. So I believe there's the podcaster subscription and then like the YouTube creator subscription is $25 a month.
Yep.
And I'm sure with you, like you didn't learn everything yourself. And that's another key point with this. Like I have a friend who's really great at marketing. I'm helping him with his business, and it's having the right mentors in place and going to the people who know these things already, because everything I talked about could be overwhelming. If it wasn't having the right people in my life and the right mentors and even a mastermind group I started to keep each other accountable, like that's another key part of it. But yeah, repurpose.io is the one I started to use and I love it so far.
Nice. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. That one's on our radar. So it's really good to hear that. And thanks for sharing it with everyone out there. I think they're going to be really excited about checking it out. But I love that you talked about mentors as well and having people around you that can support you on your mission, that can help you when you get overwhelmed. And even talk to you when you just need to vent. Like I have this thing where I tell a lot of people, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as solopreneurs, sometimes you just have bad days or bad weeks. And sometimes you just need someone who you can talk to and they get what you're talking about. And they understand that you just have to get it out. And then they can help you kind of rechannel that energy into your next project, your next task, or even sometimes ground you in the fact that, that might have happened that one time, but that might be the anomaly. That may not be the trend. So I really think it's so important that that people see that. Now, so you said you created your own mastermind group. Are you doing more and more of that, creating groups, supporting people still, or is that something you just kind of did before?
So back in 2014 was my first business. It took off because I had the mastermind group. I met 3 other guys at a
Mm,
conference who were starting their own businesses. We eventually moved into an apartment together in Scottsdale, Arizona. We removed the televisions, the couches. We had whiteboards, computers. Everything was structured for business. We had weekly accountability goals where we said, if we
wow,
don't
that's
finish
impressive.
this task by Sunday of the end of the week, I pay you $100. The way that
Woo.
works psychologically is like back to the fear of failure is we respond to immediate pleasure and immediate pain. So when my friend had to call 100 suppliers to manufacture his pet products,
Hmm.
it was painful hearing no. But once we put the $100 to the mix, it was more painful not to do it. So he forced through it. So what I'm doing right now is I view it in 2 different things. There's the mentors. So like, let's say Ethan, the CEO of Beyond Meat, like if he mentors you, it's like he's
Hmm.
someone above our level where like we listen to him. It's a different
Yes.
dynamic. Then there's the
Hmm.
mastermind group, other people at our level. So I started reaching out to people on Instagram to try to promote my business. Then I just clicked with one of them. She started a vegan T-shirt company,
Hmm.
and I said, "Hey, let's get on the phone. Let's maybe do a mastermind group." And then my friend Derek and someone else who I did marketing work in the past, he joined the group. So there's 4 of us right now, and pretty much the same
Nice.
concept. Every week we jump on a half-hour call, talk about like what are we struggling with, how can we help each other out. Then we have the Slack chat for in between the week if things come up.
Hmm.
So it's that constant thing to keep us accountable. So the mentors are one thing, but the mastermind group, it's small group of 3, 4, maybe 5 people who are in your position to it's kind of like you said, bounce ideas off each other and just like vent when you need to. And then one more thing, ideas are coming up as we speak. I love it. So the
Good.
first business was the solopreneur type thing where I did everything myself. But I
Hmm.
know a lot of business owners who are maybe struggling to get their first business off the ground. Either joining a startup for equity or partnering with someone else. And when I had the experience of like working with the team at VegReady, it's
Hmm.
myself, the CEO comes from the finance background. I have the online like systems, email marketing, website background. Other people, they specialize in social media. Other people specialize in email. So like the dynamic of bringing more people together, whether it's you join a team, you bring more people in or a mastermind, like something about including more people, it benefits every business versus when I did the solopreneur type of thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's really nice when you can build support systems around you, whether they're within your team or, like you said, the mastermind group you built is so important and so vital to success and also vital to sanity. I mean, I really feel like it can be hard out there running a business, getting that constructive feedback from your audience, and even getting it from customers at times. And it's not because they really mean any harm. They're really trying to help you be better. They really are trying to help you see things differently. And sometimes you need someone who gives you a little tough love to make that happen. And then being able to have a safe space as a support group, like a mastermind group, is a great place to bring that back to. So that sometimes they can help you maybe see that silver lining. And also sometimes to bring it back to help you noodle on what do I do next? Because I think sometimes we know we have to make a change. We get the feedback, but we're not always prepared, and sometimes emotionally prepared to bring those two things together and go forward. So it's so great to hear that you've taken the initiative to do that now and use your experience from the past to make that happen. So as we're wrapping up today's interview, I just want to make sure, number one, people can get in touch with you. So either A, if they just want to chit chat with you about your journey and what you're doing, if they want to talk to you from a business standpoint, of where you're headed, or maybe want to participate in your documentary or support your documentary in the future, where and how should they get in touch with you?
Definitely. So I'm very I'm very active on LinkedIn. So if you search Andrew Alexander on LinkedIn, you'll see me there. My email address is andrew@veganhealthpack.com. So my I don't know, my YouTube channel is called Creating a Vegan World. That's the name of the documentary. So if people want to, if they're doing big things like for the vegan world or sustainability, like yourself or anyone else watching this, email me. We could schedule an interview and anything along those lines. So LinkedIn or email andrew@veganhealthpack.com.
Perfect. And then as we wrap up today's session, do you have any final wisdom, recommendations, or thoughts for anyone out there, whether it's how do they, as they say, soldier forward? Because, the world's still a little topsy-turvy right now. And depending on where you are in the world, it can be a little bit, unsettling right now, especially for business owners and entrepreneurs. So I don't know if you have any words of wisdom, recommendations, or any perspective as we all maybe are not done with pivoting yet
Mm-hmm.
through what's happening right now, and then obviously not done with pivoting at all because that's a part of the journey. I'm just curious if you have any kind of thoughts for anyone as we wrap up today's session.
I think basically the summary of what I said, where it's just you learn these things, you do it by gaining experience. So standing in place always keeps you at the bottom of the trail. And even if you fail, like I learned from my past failures, they might have turned into my best successes. So it's always moving forward, not fearing the failure. And the thing that helped me through the hard times, where there's been a lot of hard times since I've been doing this since 2013, like I can't even talk about in this interview, like there's not enough time, but like the harder the times go, the more faith or confidence you need in your final destination. So
Yes.
whether like you practice law of attraction, you have like your ideal vision of the future when you impact the world with your vegan business, and like just you believe that the future is true, or just the confidence in yourself and your abilities to make it through the hard times and keep pushing forward. So that faith or confidence, whatever vibes better with you, that's a very important part for what you said.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Andrew, for your time today. Thanks for your inspiration. Thanks for your tips on YouTube. And also, thanks for sharing with us your journey. I know sometimes it's not always the easiest thing to let everyone know about kind of the process we've gone through to get to where we are, but it's really great to see, the work that you've done, see the successes that you've had, and how you've used that to mold your future, and then also how you've used that to also, as you say, change the world. I mean, I think that's just an amazing thing when we have, marketers in this space, when we have individuals that are really putting their skills and everything out there to make things better, to help people get access to plant-based foods. And also, like you said before, helping people really be healthy, helping people really make sure they're seizing that opportunity to, re-chart their health future. So thank you so much for spending some time with me and hanging out. And hopefully we get to hang out again. But I hope everyone who has watched this live, thank you so much for joining us. If you watch this as a replay, we love questions. We love comments. If you have any questions for Andrew, I'll make sure that they get over to Andrew as well. But we're really excited to have everyone here. We're really excited to be able to offer this interview series. So thank you for your time. But Andrew, thank you so much. This is great catching up with you and great having a chance to learn about your journey and inspire others.
Definitely. Thank you so much and helping me push through my comfort zone, my first live interview. So thank you again.
Absolutely. Take care, everyone.